Hello there. Good afternoon. Good evening to Ian in the chat and everyone else that is, well, not afternoon. I am Drew Wash. If you're joining us on Restream, just know that Domain to Profit is a live show. It is meant to be live as we look through expired domains that are expiring this week, so the next 7 days. So if you're watching on Restream, we welcome you to join us 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time as we, or Eastern Time, I should say. I was just corrected recently that it's Eastern Daylight Time currently, not Standard. But anyhow, join us live. And if you are here live, as I already see many doing, say hi in the chat. Let me know you're here. I'm glad to have you here either way, because this is where we get together, talk about domain names, and then talk about businesses and ideas that we can use those domain names for. It is my belief that domain names are meant to be developed, especially those great keyword specific domain names like we talk about developing often here. These domains are meant to be developed and meant to be shared and used to bring value to the world, and that is what we are here to do. Let's bring value to the world, and we get to make revenue and income and make our dreams come true at the same time. It's what we're here about here on Domain to Profit. Glad to have you with us. Today, we're going to be looking through expired domains over on GoDaddy, as well as possibly a couple others, depending on what we find. And we're going to be talking about whether we should get them or avoid them. Like, some domains are going to look really good, but it's as much as important to know which domains to avoid, when to save your money, what mistakes to avoid versus knowing which domains to buy. So a lot of times the ones to buy are going to be the ones that are most expensive. So it's especially when we look at those discount or we think we have a deal that we have to maybe reconsider, but hey, a deal's good. So make sure you say hi in the chat. If you want to, let us know what project you're up to. This is interactive. So as we go through the list, as you'll see here in a little bit, let us know if you see one that you think we should talk about. I will let you know whether we should buy it or avoid it. I'm Drew Wash, Domain to Profit. See you just after this.
From domain to profit, from a dot to a business idea. Take a domain name, develop an income from domain to profit. We'll show you how. Domain to profit, from domain to profit. Join Drew Wash and get started right now.
Alrighty, we'll try it for just one moment. I know sometimes that causes issues, but we'll see how. And Walter, if there is a word, but you went first place on high in the chat. And Walter. I've seen you on here before, so welcome. Glad to have you. And apologies if I haven't seen you. But Mike, nice to see you as well. Ian, David, I'm kind of running through them. Looks like my computer is running a touch slow. It is, here we go, we'll switch to this camera. David, Ian, nice to see you. And Ian's one of those ones to bring in the good evening. And we got wavy. Is that an emoji? Is that the wave emoji? And Matt, nice to have you. Thanks for all your help on the stream. I always appreciate it. As well as Tom. Hi, Tom. Nice to see you. I think it's been a while since I've seen you on here. So nice to have you, as well as everybody else who is joining us as well. I do appreciate you being here. I always do. This is done out of fun and passion and love for domain names, and also love for that idea, that idealized idea that I have, that domains are supposed to be developed, and I want you to be able to reap the rewards of your efforts. Develop the domain names, and you can. Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, I tried. Thanks for letting me know, though. I always do appreciate the feedback, even if it disappoints me. So, okay. Well, it was Gandhi anyways. Well, what we do here, as I mentioned, we look through expiring domain names like these back here. This is expireddomains.net, expireddomains.net. So that's where you're going to want to go. We use that website all the time. So what we do also is, right down here, you'll see the URL. This is where you can go to get the video that shows you the filters we use. When you come into expireddomains.net, you're going to find there are so like well over, well, I think it's like several 100,000 domains that are out on expired domains all the time. And we want to get those down to the best of the domain names. So we use these filters that we have down here. Then we're looking through these marketplace domains. GoDaddy expired domains is the list that we are currently using and that we mostly always use. So, and as Matt is mentioning, thank you, Matt. Always appreciate. Make sure you like and subscribe if you have not. I very much appreciate everybody who does that. It does help me quite a bit. And, you know, to be quite honest, I don't make any money off this, so I'm paid in likes. I'm paid in subscriptions. So, and Atul, nice to have you, buddy. Like, looks like first time here. Watched a couple of videos recently. Nice to have you. Thanks for joining live. It's a great example to everybody else because that is what we say. And Stuart popping on as well. So nice to have you all here with us. So we are over on expireddomains.net, and we are going to be looking through the domain names here. Filters right down below if you've never watched that video. And essentially we do what we do. We look to these domain names and find the best domain names on the list. We order them by valuation. You'll see this column right here. And the valuation, as you hear me say every week, as a warning to anybody who stumbles across this, one of the worst things I could ever lead you to believe is that the valuation is the actual value of a domain. And I just really want to make sure that you know that is not the case. Valuation is just an order by. It's just what to bring the ones that are possibly the best domains to the top. Has nothing really to do with the value of the domain name. So just keep that in mind. That is important. I don't think anybody's ever really, anyhow, it's not the value. It's not the value. The value is what somebody's willing to pay for the domain name, period. So now onto the list, and you'll see here live work at the top. I don't mind that domain name. Not really sure. Safety guard. That sounds like it could be a thing. Is that a thing? Let's click on that one. We'll make safetyguard.com our first domain name. And while that loads, here we go. Okay, so 5 days left, are already up over $1,000, $1,075 currently. So Safety Guard definitely is a thing, at least to some out there that are trying to already buy it. So we're going to toss this into SpyFu. This is the website that we're on currently. SpyFu is the site that we use for keyword and domain analysis, especially keywords. We look a lot at the keywords of a domain name. So these are all .com domain names. And Safety Guard, as you can see here, when we remove the .com and we specify the words of the domain name as keywords, so Safety Guard as the keywords up here, you'll see there's 440 searches for those keywords. So that's just people going into Google, typing in Safety Guard. What are they looking for? I honestly don't necessarily know yet, but this data here is going to help us learn about the topic that is Safety Guard. So one of the things I'm going to do is hit the wrong button. I am going to do a Control F and then paste Safety Guard in there. So what I've done here is I've done a Control F on my browser. It's going to be probably different depending on what device you're on. What we're doing though is highlighting the word Safety Guard, and it's going to let us see the keyword of our domain name spread around the data. So what I mean by that is you'll see here, Windows Safety Guard. So that makes sense. If you're trying to keep your windows from being opened, maybe you live in a bad area or just want to keep kids from falling out the windows or something, Safety Guard seems like a reasonable thing. Cement Windows Safety Guard, Casement Windows Safety Guard, not entirely sure what that is. Bandsaw Safety Guard. So you can see that people are looking for Safety Guard as in something to keep something that could be dangerous safe. Makes sense. There appears to be searches out there. So what would you put on safetyguard.com? Well, it looks like it's going to be a product database, a product site to where you could either launch your own Safety Guard product, but that's always a bit out there. Like we don't want to get carried away with products. What we instead want to do as just domain investors, as domain name developers, what we want to do is take that domain name and build it out in a way that those who do care about safety guards can, in turn, well, use the website to benefit themselves. And then they just pay you a monthly fee. That's what we're always looking for here, is just that monthly revenue. Not because we want necessarily the monthly revenue, it's just, it allows us to be real estate owners, right? So let me actually, under that note, I did pull this up. We haven't revisited this in a while, so let me pull this up. So this is how I view domain names over here. So the domain names that we are looking at, these keyword specific exact match domain keywords that are how they're referred to often, they are indeed real estate. And the thing about real estate, if you think about how you might do if you owned land and you were going to put up a store or a restaurant on it, the domain name, if I can get this to resize, the domain name is just that plot of land. And you hear this said pretty frequently, it's the real estate of the internet. Well, it is quite literally the real estate of the internet. So how do we know that? Well, you can put up the for sale sign. You can, and many people do this, they'll buy a great domain name, they'll buy it and then find somebody to pay more for it. Sounds like real estate, right? And just like all real estate, you can build something on it. That's what this would be. Like you could take any domain name out there. Often people ask me, what about non.coms? What about XYZ? What about .io? What about any other extension that's out there? And the answer is it's land, it's real estate. You can build anything you want to on that real estate. If you want to build a great business on a less than .com domain name, then so be it. That is your choice, and you use that real estate to build on. However, what we look for specifically here on Domain to Profit are domain names that aren't just real estate. They're real estate with like underground gold mines and oil reserves underneath. And that's when we get into specifically looking at domain names that have, oh my goodness, let's see if I can get this. Okay. These are specifically domain names that have authority, validation, and access to the industry. Now, these things over here, this authority, this validation, this access to the industry, how do you measure that? Well, you don't necessarily measure it in, it's typically more of a gut feel, but you can measure it a lot of times by this data that we're seeing here, this keyword data. How many times are people searching for it? If they're searching for your exact domain name, the keywords of it, in this case, safety guard, that means that they're already familiar with it. They're searching for it. In their mind, that keyword exists, that product exists, and in turn, they're already searching for it 440 times, and then a few hundred other times for other products like window, bandsaw. So that is what we're looking for. Those are the domain names that have the authority, validation, and that access to the industry, which access to the industry, you can always test with this here, that authority test. Hey, hello, this is Drew Wash. I am with safetyguard.com if you're calling on a potential customer, and see if that gets you by gatekeepers. See if that draws in the interest of the person that you're calling for. You'll find, and I find often with our sites, the better the domain name, the faster people are to hand you to the decision maker. If you call small businesses or even large businesses and you represent yourself as a less than .com domain name, you are going to be stopped by the gatekeepers. You're going to be stopped by receptionists, and the decision maker's never going to be available to you. If you call from the correct domain name and you're calling Safety Guard products and services, and you're saying, hey, I'm with safetyguard.com, suddenly their ears perk up and they believe that you are possibly more than what you actually are. And then what we do next is we just tap that domain name. All that gold under the ground, all that oil that's buried deep underneath the ground that other domains don't have. This is what we're doing, is just tapping it in and letting a little bit of revenue come through. We bring value to the world. through that domain name. We just drip off a little bit for ourselves in this reoccurring revenue month after month, just like you would if you were renting out a property or leasing out or putting up a billboard and they pay you monthly to be able to use that space. That's essentially what we're doing, is help facilitating that value pool out of that domain name. So let's continue to look at safetyguard.com here. And this is kind of what I was wanting to check on. Nobody's paying to advertise under it. So there's no advertisers. And then also, let's see, there we go. There's no advertisers for it, and the cost per click is less than $2. Basically, that means that there's not a whole lot of money behind it, and we want to see money. We want to see money happening for this domain. People are already spending money to target this keyword. And also, let me just point something else out since I'm right here right now. If you look at this line here, it says that the search volume for this domain or for this keyword is over 33,000 searches per month. So you might be wondering, like, okay, Google says it's over 33,000 searches per month, but SpyFu says it's only 440. What's going on with that? Like, why is that? And let's go look at that real quick. You'll find that this is very common, in fact, when it comes to domain names and keywords. And the reason is this right here. When you look at this keyword, so I just did a search over on Google for safety guard, you'll see that there's all these ads up here. These are all image ads, product ads, and then right here there's a looks like it's a natural search engine rank, and then we get into images and then questions. What is happening is all this stuff at the top, all the ads, all the product images and things, that is what is taking away all these keyword searches. So it goes from 33,000 people looking for safety guards down to only 440 truly being available to you to target. So that's why I love SpyFu. That's why I love this website, is because it helps to break that down and doesn't just give you some giant number to entice you. Instead, it shows you the smaller, more realistic number for the keyword, which I do appreciate. So we'll stop there with that one. Safetyguard.com, $1,075, ends in 5 days. Back over to Expired. Deep Forest, is that a thing? Front Seat, I like Front Seat. I saw it was going for a decent amount of money already. Front Seat, or as you might know, or might call it, Shotgun. Shotgun. So, let's see, and then keep on moving on. So here's an example of one that I would pass on. Image stock. So stock image, of course, is a big deal, right? Let's go ahead and click on this domain name and we'll check it out. So I'm going to run this domain name as if I don't know what's going to happen with it. And so let's say that, I guess it could be images talk. I don't know what the heck that would be, but in the TikTok world, maybe. So right now there's 1,100 searches for image stock. Like, I really don't believe there's 1,100 searches for image stock. I just don't believe it. This is what people are actually looking for, stock images. I don't know. I'm guessing the only people that are looking for image stock are going to be those people that are looking to sell that domain name, or like they're looking to make that keyword relevant. I could be wrong. But it looks like, I mean, look at stock image. In fact, let's go back in. We'll do the Control F, and I am doing image stock. And you'll see nothing highlights, nothing at all. So you'll see that image stock, if I was to do the exact same thing and do a search for stock image, the whole page would light up. There's stock image everywhere, but not in this. So this is one of those domains you got to learn to kind of avoid here. So you'll see there's advertisers wanting to reach it. Cost per click is even $7. These are great numbers. These are great numbers that we love to see. But here's the thing. Well, what's it going for? So the domain name's already at $484. What I would encourage you to do, if you're looking at this, a lot of times when I try to explain how I would price a domain name, I look at the keyword searches, the exact match searches, and then some of the pricing information, do some math on those two things, and essentially come up with the price for a domain name. In this case, the numbers will tell you that this domain name's worth a couple hundred or a couple $1,000s. Now, this is one of those cases that I'm going to veto the numbers. I'm going to say, bull crap. I would be passing on this domain name every day, all day. And here's really what it comes down to. Even though the keywords and the numbers here say that it works, if we go back to this test here, this authority test that we have over here, if you were to call up photographers and you say, hey, I'm Drew Wash and I'm with imagestock.com, they're going to assume that you don't know what the hell you're talking about. They're going to be like, what do you mean stock image? No, no, image stock. Like, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense to the people that it matters to. The people that are paying for it are just trying to get some cheap click-throughs or something. I don't know. Of course, do your own research. Maybe I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure I know this enough to know that's a garbage keyword. That is a domain name that's not worth investing in. That's a pass, big pass. So Event Now, pass that one up. That's actually not bad. Event Now. I think, did we talk about that last week? I think we might have talked about that last week. Pedal cars, I think those are actually a thing, but not something I'm interested in. If you're interested in them, let me know. We can look up pedal cars. Movies, verse, nope. Weed Med. So again, this sounds like one that's kind of close, right? This idea of, what is this, Weed Med down here. Weed Med, medical marijuana, medical weed, like it sounds like it's something that you might be interested in, but in reality, it's close. But that's the kind of thing you need to avoid. You need to be disciplined in your domain picking. You know, if you call people up and you're like, hey, I'm Drew, I'm with weedmed.com. In that context, it actually doesn't sound that bad. So maybe it is something, well, let's go ahead and check on it. Let's look at it. I have to think it's not all that great, but so let's see. So what I'm looking at over here is I'm trying to see if there's content to where people are naturally abbreviating the domain name, and no, not really seeing it. Probably the best one that I'm seeing is Smoking Weed Med School. I don't really, I'm guessing that's some med student out there trying to figure out if he's going to still be able to be a doctor if he smoked weed. Maybe not. Okay. Well, so there's Weed Med. That one's an in between. I'd kind of give that a C minus. If you're looking for a domain name in that area, then maybe it'll work. Ocean Villa. Well, it's an enum domain name, so that's a pass for me. Look at past shows if you want to kind of know why that is. I just don't like enum. Magic Ticket. Not bad. And Stuart's adding med weed would be better. Yeah, I don't know what would make it better. Med weed. That would be the more appropriate. Like medical marijuana is how you hear it verbally said over radio commercials and things like that. I just don't know if med weed, like it just doesn't sound. I don't know. Like I said, C minus no matter what. There you go. And I'm kind of like if anybody disagrees, like welcome, you share your expertise in the chat. But yeah, I don't like image stock. Like that's one of those things, those bots that are out there that base it on the numbers strictly, they're going to overpay on that domain name. That domain name's a big time pass. Magic Ticket, I don't mind it as a brand, buy bet, play events. think Vito, if Vito ever, haven't seen him in a little bit, but Vito has done some streaming type stuff. He plays in those domains, so that's probably a good one for him. T for two. So if we were to say like T for two, that domain name to me would fall under that kind of idea of a marketing domain name. I've heard that said in TV shows and in probably Downton Abbey or something like that. Oh yes, let's grab T for two. Let's see if actually people oh yeah, it's already $300, ends in 4 days. I don't 100% know what industry you would want to be in to be like, oh yeah, T for two sounds great. But I've definitely heard the phrase T for two. And this is from in the U.S. side. I'm guessing across the pond, T for two is a more common thing, maybe. Two T if by two if by T out of business. Okay, not sure what that is. But T for two, it does appear that people search for it. There's no money behind it, as we see down in here. There's some cost per click, people testing it out, but ultimately nobody's sticking with it, and that's why there's no advertisers for this domain. I do like it if you're looking for a domain name that's like, sounds like a good blog, sounds like a good discussion blog or something, T for two. But moving on. Creative real estate, not bad maybe. Let's see here, roof restoration. This is one that Matt mentioned to me before the show. And I just don't think anybody ever, let's look at the numbers. So I don't like how long the domain name is. There's lots of alternatives for this domain name that would be shorter. And let me keep searching for it. And I will also add, it ends tomorrow. It's at $610. So you're going to be paying, probably looks like $1,000 or so for this domain name. And as we look at the numbers, roofing restoration, that's even worse, roofing restoration. Now, roofing and restoration, I could see that. I could, like these here, I can see roofing and restoration being a thing. A couple people testing the keyword, good cost per click, because roofing stuff often has good cost per click. But again, roof restoration, it feels like a close domain name. It's an almost domain name. So if we're like buying or avoiding, this would be an avoid for me. It's that middle ground, that almost a good domain name. And those almost a good domain names are the ones you have to avoid. That would be the equivalent in my book of going for a better domain name, so like roofing.xyz. It almost sounds like it's a great domain name. It's going to be valuable because it's a single word, but it's in the wrong extension. So you're never really going to get the full value of that domain name, the full benefit of it. Roofrestoration.com. If people were actually searching for it, maybe, but it's not. So Matt, I think that kind of confirms what I was saying prior to the show. So, and here we go. Thank you, Stuart, for adding this in. I appreciate it. Keep coming. And he's saying, yes, T for two is quite a common phrase there in the UK. Stuart, you guys put your pinky up. Is that like elite? Is that like a bad thing if am I being mean by saying that? Mug's too hot. Oh, do you see my, let me see here. See the .com underneath? I added that with the Sharpie prior to the show because that's just the kind of silly guy I am. Okay. Yeah, okay. Moving on here, BizVerse, Ignite Energy. So if you like some of these for the sake of like, oh, I would do a business under that, then so be it. You can do a business under that. You got to remember, it's like this right here. Like you can build on any domain name. Just don't count on there being authority or validation underneath the ground. Like it just might be a cool name that you can build on. You can build any business on any domain name you want to. And if you like the domain name, maybe that's good enough for you to have success. Got to bring the passion. Kung Pao, I think that came up last week, so that must be ending here soon. View chain, binary lead suite. I drank way too much coffee before the show. Way too much. I was like getting lightheaded and stuff. I was like, man, what is going on? Leads. Man, could you imagine how great, how fantastic of a domain name lead management would be? So this is a great example of a domain name to avoid. So why? Well, you might be like, hey, leads management, usually you manage leads, right? You handle your leads. There's one lead is not something you'd be interested in. But in this phrase, leads management, I'm not really digging it. I've never heard somebody say leads management. In fact, this domain name is not leadsmanagement.com. If you're talking to someone over the phone, this domain name is leadsmanagement.com, and that's leads with an S, management.com. You would have to specify the S's there over and over and over again. Nobody would hear it. And that's the kind of thing that we really want to avoid in our domain name. But I would expect that there's going to be quite a maybe not. I thought there'd be some good keyword data. In fact, I'm actually really shocked that lead management doesn't have better numbers. Maybe that's just an internal thing that people say, but don't search for. Okay, well, I do like seeing this. Look at this data over here. So we have 10 advertisers, $26 per click. Those are big numbers. Those are really big numbers. Let me look at this domain name. So $394 currently, ends in 4 days. On a buy to avoid scale. Buy, avoid. That cost per click and the number of advertisers makes me think that this is in that middle road. So my gut's saying avoid this at all costs. That middle S is going to be devastating. The only thing is, if you can get it for a reasonable price, there's competition. There's those 10 advertisers that are already paying big money to target this keyword, which makes me think that it's kind of that middle of the road, even though it's not a great domain. I know that's just crazy talk, right? Even though it's not a great domain name, there's competition there that if you are in this industry dealing with leads management, see that? Leads management with an S in the middle? Well, it might be worth trying, but yes, you're going to have to specify leads management with an S on leads plural. Like, it's going to be so annoying, but it could be something that you could do if you were diehard looking for a good domain in that space. Again, middle of the road, I fall on the pass. Like, I'm going to avoid that domain name, but I'm just kind of keeping in mind, you may be in a different position. You may be looking for a domain name you can get for $1,000 or less that you can work at. And if you're in the sales lead type space, that may be a good one for you. That's definitely not me. Eternal Space. Voice over Pro. Voice over Pro. I don't know if this is worth doing a search on. It sounds like this would be a good domain name if you did voiceover, right? This would be a great homepage for you. Like, this domain name belongs to an individual versus a directory of voiceover pros is my vibe for it. So with this one, I think of that authority test of, hey, I'm Drew, I'm with voiceoverpro.com. Actually, hey, I'm Drew, I'm with voiceover pro. That was horrible. Yeah, I could do better, but I'm not going to. Okay. Well, I'm Drew with voiceoverpro.com. Like, the domain name is great. It has authority, but it sounds like it belongs to a specific business versus something that as a domain developer we would develop on. So I'm going to skip over VoiceOver Pro. But hey, if you're a VoiceOver Pro or know somebody They can have a great domain name, worth some money for sure, to the right person. So that's more of a buy-sell domain name if I was putting on my investor hat. Buy images. It's a two cows domain, so it might end up being a domain name that isn't quite worth messing with. But buy images. So here we go. Let me look at it this way. We already looked at imagestock.com, which had huge amounts of, had what, 1,100 searches for it, had some money behind it. Let's test that against this domain name, which I am guessing, oh my goodness gracious, what is going on here? Buy images. So we'll test, this one actually does, word volume would be less even than what it is. 750 searches for buy images. That's not bad. That's actually pretty good. I'm already liking it more than I did image stock. And if you call up those same people that we were talking about, those people that were looking to publicly, that you're calling about imagestock.com, and you say, hey, I'm with buyimages.com, that sounds, I think it sounds better, at least my opinion. Buyimages.com. I'm Drew with buyimages.com. I'm Drew with imagestock.com. I like buyimages.com. And I also think Buy Images allows you to be more flexible in what you're doing. Image stock sounds like stock photos. They're going to be the same as everybody else. Buy Images sounds like, hey, this guy's creating custom images for me, or you can do more with it, which I like. I like that for sure. Best Buy Images, Buy Images, stock images. There you go. 8 advertisers. $14 per click. I don't know. That's a lot of money to be spending for such a silly little domain, leaning the wrong direction here. So there you go. Cost per click. I like that domain name. It is at $12 currently, so you know what that's going to do. That is going to get the 5-minute disclaimer. One of the 10 commandments of domain to profit is when you see this, when you see a great domain name that is at $12 or less. So nobody's bid on this domain name. That means you need to wait as long as possible to bid. In fact, I've even been trying a new strategy, which is waiting to see if it even goes to buyout, right? You can, if you wait until the domain name does not sell, then you could even just buy it for $50 afterwards versus bidding on a domain name like this that brings it to the top. I don't know. I'm playing with some different stuff. But the 10 commandments, one of which says, and I'm just taking this from, I mentioned this last week, that is, you want to bid like at 5 minutes and 10 seconds left. So that way when they extend the auction, which if you bid with 3 seconds left, it's going to add 5 minutes to that auction. So now you've just made it even longer. So what you want to do is wait until 5 minutes and 10 seconds. You can bid with 3 seconds left, I guess same amount of time, but you don't want to, it brings it to the top of the list. People like me watch, and here's what I mean by that. Well, I'll show you a little bit. You can order by number of bids and the time remaining. And a lot of times I will look at this list and just watch the ending domains and see which ones are being bid on and then get active in some of those domain names. You just don't want to draw people in. It's something that a lot of people don't consider. And I want you to be somebody that does consider the fact that others are out there trying to figure out if that domain name is worth it. So there you go. And I saw Fred popped in as well. Yeah, I saw that you, Fred, I saw you were at traffic and conversion. I thought about trying to get out there. I did not though, obviously, but someday I'll make it out there. Math Center, not the way we spell it in the US, but I do believe there's people that spell it that way in other countries. I don't know, don't mind that. Leading Forward sounds like a good brand maybe. House of Food, The Damned. TheDamned.com sounds like a good domain name for the spooky season, as people call it. SEO Index. Have we seen that before? I feel like that domain's been up here before. It's on name.com. SEO index, $12. So I click on that one mostly because I actually got my start. I got my start in domain names with index domains. So back when the early 2000s, when I started to get domain names, I still own movingindex.com, cabinindex.com, and I was the index guy. So I was always buying the primary keyword index. So SEOindex.com catches my eye because, well, that's what I used to do, was deal with index. But nowadays, none of those domains are actually developed. So that I have. I don't have any of them developed. They redirect to other ones. Partylounge. I like Party Lounge. I don't know what the heck I do with it. I'm going to add it to my watch list. Let's see if anybody searches for it. Party Lounge, would that be like an event space? Party Lounge, like an event space for like a smaller event, maybe? I don't know. Anyhow, let's see here. Yeah, I need a small lounge for a birthday party. So it does seem to be a thing. Party Lounge, scrolling back up top. Let me see here. Okay, so here we go. Only 90 searches for Party Lounge. But we do see with that Control F, I'm highlighting the keyword Party Lounge, Cadillac, Michigan, Cadillac Party Lounge, Brooklyn, New York, lounges near me, Party Lounges near me, Party Lounges in Queens. I don't know, is Party Lounge a brand or something? No advertisers, cost per click $1. I don't know. It sounds like it's pretty good. But obviously the keyword data is saying no. I'm going to add it to my watch list. It might get a couple $100 out of me, but I don't know. I'm not vibing with it, but it sounds like it should be a bigger thing than what it is. Yeah, okay. And let me just say, yeah, the traffic conversion, Fred was out there. That was in San Diego, which I love San Diego. It's one of the reasons I wanted to go to that conference. And I met Fred at NamesCon, and he mentioned that he was going to it. And I was just going to say, like, I wanted to get out there and check it out. But traffic and conversion, just this idea of like, well, exactly. Traffic, getting traffic to websites and converting that traffic into sales and so on. Lots of good stuff that would certainly the teachers and presenters out there have great content that would apply to what we do here every single week. So certainly worth checking out if you ever get a chance to. And it's in San Diego. I'll probably be out there at some point at the conference specifically. I'm in San Diego a few times a year already. Salesport, Talent Fest, Jump Store. These are some pretty reasonable domain names, but they're middle of the road. Can a society figure it out? I saw a domain name. I must have passed it up. It was Loco Is, and it looks like locals, but it is Loco Is. So one of those times that you just really need to, that's why I do a lot of times, if you see me I'll do a copy and paste on my keywords, on my domain names. I do the copy and paste because essentially I'm trying to make sure that I don't take a typo domain name and treat it like it's better than what it is. So in fact, just this morning, I saw what I thought was locals.com, and it was Loco Is. So I almost fell for that, but the copy and paste saves me. Wow moment. Look at that. Do you really, people pay $146 per click is what that's saying. $6, wowmoment.com. I don't know if anything's up with this, but I know in marketing, in fact, Fred may have heard this out in San Diego. It's all about creating a wow moment, this moment of wow moments of reflection. So really not much happening. Plural gets 220 searches. So maybe this is a brand more than anything else. I'm thinking of it from marketing, wow moments being moments where you create a moment where people remember it. Dental home care, Smiles Foundation. Lightning shop. So that's lighting shop. Maybe would have been good. Where was I? Okay. Let me see here. We're most of the way down the page. We'll keep on heading down. So we're looking through expired domain names here on expireddomains.net, looking for the domain names. We're avoiding many of these, as you can see, as we kind of just skip by them. If you see one that you're kind of like, hey, why'd you miss that one? Well, I might have missed it. I might have missed it versus skipped it or avoided it, skipped it. So let me know if you see something you're wondering why I missed it. Otherwise, just assume it is a void. Mobile projector, that's a thing. That's so a thing. There's definitely mobile projectors. I'm going to skip over it. But if you deal in mobile projectors or want to sell mobile projectors, maybe worth something. Single ticket. Man, it's an enom domain. Can you see that? Nope. I got to scroll down. So singleticket.com. It's an enom domain name. I don't know if you can see that. It's kind of hidden off on the screen over here. So I'm not going to go into it, but man, that would be a fun domain name to build a business on, single ticket. As somebody who I travel a lot by myself, and I always I just wish there was a way to get that single ticket. I just want one ticket. I'll go last minute and get that single ticket and go to shows and things, but the world's not set up for that. I think that's Cannabis Society. Is that the domain name that we saw up there? Platinum Foods, Crowd People, Club. Data Command. Let me get that up on the screen. Data Command. Professional Tree Service. Man, if that was just .com, I'd be like, beep, 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 beep. Putting big money on that one. Professional Tree Service. Nah. Professional tree service. Let's think about some alternatives to that. I'd probably prefer almost like treeservicepros.com. Professional tree service, you can just see how long it is versus the others. I get really weary or really cautious when I see a domain name that's 3 words like this, that's a longer domain. I have a feeling we are going to see some keyword volume. Yes, we are. The only thing is man, it's just, let's see, 3 advertisers, and it's showing up okay. So 3 advertisers, $5. The thing about this is professional tree service sounds good, and people are searching for it. We see that there's several hundred people searching for that each month. What we're going to run into is the same people that search for professional tree service are going to be the same people that search for these other keywords, tree service near me, or professional tree removal. They're just looking for content. I wouldn't be surprised if they're not even people in that industry just looking for keywords that are related. For me, that just means pass. It's just not as good of a domain name as others are going to be. So this would be one that maybe if you are a tree service, you would love to have this domain name. You're professionaltreeservice.com. Boom, you own it. It's a nice domain. Not something I would buy for the sake of, of building on. It's just a little bit long. If you say, hey, I'm with professionaltreeservice.com, it's kind of like, okay. That's nice, Drew. So what's up? Eventually the wording becomes too much. It's kind of like, hey, I'm Drew. I'm with the best tree services in the world.com. Eventually it's kind of like the BS meters go off, right? The authority test has its limits. I usually like 2words.com, 2 words or less.com. Which ironically is more than 2 words. Okay, well, let's click on some other stuff. We got a couple minutes here. And yeah, let's see. I'd buy Fred or Darcy's adding, I'd buy professional tree services for the right price. Probably goes for something. Yeah, I don't know. What did I click on it at all? I didn't. I looked up the keyword. I didn't see what it was going for. Let me go down and check it out. You're probably right though. It probably is going to go for way too much. $59 currently, ends in a day. You know, what I know about tree services is maybe every city has one that's like really good, and the rest of them are a bunch of guys that get together and do tree service, when it's in season, at least here in Cincinnati. So maybe in other cities, it's more of there's more professional operations. Basically what it comes down to is I just don't know if there's a market for this domain name. So somebody might get burnt if they pay too much for it. Get it for a few $100s, and yeah, Darcy might be, So let's go look at what do we want to look? We got a couple minutes here. Let's do a summary real quick of GoDaddy domain names. Just what we've been looking at. We've been looking at the GoDaddy expiring domain names, the domain names that are ending this week that were at GoDaddy or using their auction system, and now they are expired, going to become available again. And actually, let's do that instead. So what happens to these domain names if nobody bids? Well, if nobody bids, they do go to a buy now. So you can buy these domain names for $50 afterwards. So for example, this one here, wowmoment.com. If nobody was to bid on this domain name, after the domain auction ends, the domain name goes for sale for $50, and then it does a reverse auction. So it counts back $50 and then goes all the way down to, I believe, $5 before it ever becomes available for hand registration again. So if you see a domain name like this, it may be worth adding to your watch list. And then if it goes through that buy now period, is this domain name even worth $12? Maybe not. I don't know. It's worth something if you deal in marketing, maybe. But if you can get it for $5 or close to a hand reg, absolutely. That would be the kind of domain name I would love to have all day if I didn't have to deal with an auction. So we looked at professionaltreeservice.com, mixed results, mostly a pass from a domain development standpoint. Wow Moment, again, it's a pass for me. But again, if I can get it for $5 or something cheap, I might do it. PartyLounge.com I like. I'm probably going to toss a few $100s at it. The numbers did not add up to Party Lounge being something currently. There's not many people searching for it, but it sounds like it could be. So a few $100s, a little speculation on my part, but it is on my watch list. SEO index just got pulled up because I used to be the index guy. I'll kind of close that one down here. Buyimages.com. We saw two domain names. Buyimages.com, which is 7 days out, $12 currently. And then this one over here, which is imagestock.com. ImageStock, we went through the data, and for me, it is definitely an avoid domain name, even though the numbers look good. I would much rather go with buyimages.com. That one ends in 7 days, $12 currently. I would pay more for buyimages.com is what I mean by that. Buyimages.com, it's a buy for me. Imagestock.com is a pass, especially already over $400. So what would I do buy images at? It's going to be a little bit of speculation. The numbers kind of said it's in that $400, $500 range. If you want to get in that industry, then maybe go for more. I don't like the industry enough. For me, I would probably bid $300 up to $400, and then I'm going to be a pass on that one. I don't really have a way to develop that domain name. It's not in my space. Leads management is another trap domain name. This is a domain name that I would avoid unless you're just wanting to work hard for some reason, because every time you specify that you own leadsmanagement.com, you're going to be leads management, and that's leads with an S, management.com. It's not as easy as what it sounds. It looks great. It sounds like reasonable, but ultimately the domain name is not as good as what you might think. $394 currently, $4 left. But if you're in that industry, then sure, go for it. Absolutely. Roof restoration sounds reasonable. Good assimilation, right? Roof restoration, roof RR. But restoration, I'm not a big fan of as a word, especially when paired with roof. Most of the keyword data for this, I believe, are people that are searching for roof and restoration. They're looking for just home refurb, home rehab type stuff, home restoration stuff. Lots of alternative roof domain names would be better than this, and that means it's a pass for me. It's a domain name to avoid. When there's lots of alternatives for a domain name, that's when you really have to kind of use caution, especially in these longer restoration type domain names. So pass for me, but obviously somebody out there was into it for a couple $100. T for two, so across the pond, UK is loving this domain name. Keyword volumes look good. I like it for a fun domain name. Could be a blog, could be I could see it being a YouTube channel where two people get together and have a chat, civil conversation about something. Overall, though, not my kind of thing, but it could be something for you. Certainly a long way around to make this a valuable domain name. 4 days left, T for two, $308 currently. And then the domain name we started with, over $1,000 currently, $1,075. Safetyguard.com ends in 5 days. I like the domain name from the perspective of there's a lot of good traffic, and it's a pretty flexible safety type domain name. But as we look at the keyword data, it is very product specific. It's like it's going to be products that are on the domain name. I avoid those for the most part. I like service type domain names. So for me, it's an avoid. But for anybody that really wants to deal with products, which I know there are some of you out there, this might be a good, $75. I believe the keyword data said that it could go for possibly twice that much. So there we go. That actually brought us to around 4 p.m. So I am not going to dive into other keywords or other services. Now let's go look at drop. We'll look at drop catch real quick. So let's see. Coaster G, nice to have you, even if it is for the last minutes. You can always watch it on Restream. So yeah, and I've been doing this a lot more frequently actually here. Putting on a watch list, I usually do that, and then I will a lot of times I will bid on it in the 5 minutes and 10 seconds left. But what I've actually been doing as of this last week, so this is kind of new for me, if it's on my watch list and nobody's bid, I just let it go all the way out and we'll let it go to buy now. And if I want it, I'll pay $50 for it. And if I'm not willing to pay $50, then it kind of gives me this moment of, I shouldn't buy this. Like this wasn't as good as what I thought. Like something happens. And so here's a little bit of another Drew rant, I guess. Like something happens between auction and a domain that you can buy. At auction, there's that sense of urgency and this, I need to get this because somebody might buy it instead of me. Somebody might bid on it. There's also this fear that I have, which is once I bid that I'll be outbid. And then that competition takes hold in my soul. Like I start to want to win that domain name, even if I shouldn't pay that much for it. So I found that if I let the domain name expire, something else happens. In fact, let me go and I will show you what I have over on my watch list, because this has actually happened. I let, maybe I didn't. So I have like, let me see, outpatienttherapist.com, for example. You can buy this domain name right now. So I think we talked about this one last week, and outpatienttherapist.com. I thought it might be okay. And I put it on my watch list, and then it got down to last seconds. I'm like, I'm not going to mess with that. And then once it said buy now for 50, I'm kind of like, I don't know. Is it worth $50? Maybe, maybe not. But now it's down to $11 and I'm still a pass. So it might be helpful to kind of use this as a way to avoid some of these discipline. So it might help you. In the case of today's show, which is buy or avoid, adding to a watch list and letting that auction go all the way down to zero might be a way to help you avoid some of those lower priced domain names that you should not be buying. And the nice thing is if it goes all the way down to zero, you have the chance to buy it after the fact. But if somebody bids, you can always go, oh crap, somebody bid, now I'll bid too. So like there's something there that is kind of grown on me a little bit. So, all righty, let me see. Yeah, this is what I was just testing this. Me and Chaz and Matt upstairs just today. We were testing this. So Fred's asking, I often wonder if the bots are purely reacting to bid activity. And if we have a moment here, I'm going to go ahead and show you what I found on this, because in my test, I registered a couple domain names that they're not very good, but I thought they might get a reaction bid out of the bots. So I'm kind of always testing this stuff. And so let me show you the domain names. Under the oh my goodness, what in the world? Okay, let me navigate around GoDaddy's system. You have to go to watching, and then from watching you can go to one. Okay. So what I did this morning was I just was kind of testing this, Fred. I task min, task heal. I thought they were keyword specific enough that possibly a bot. I was testing to see if bots were watching for bid activity. So what I did with one of them was I bid with 20 seconds left, and then on the other one I bid with 5 minutes and 15 seconds left, and in both cases I won them with no other bids. So there we go. So but yeah, I'm looking at that as well. Oh, here's one I got conciergetherapist.com, $50. I let that one go all the way to expired and ended up buying that one on buy now. So I've been playing with that a little bit, and you can hopefully hear some of what I've learned so far. Oh, well, there we go. So yeah, I agree. Just like a human watches that list for those last minute bids, I'm sure bots do too. So that's what I'm kind of keeping in mind. I've seen a lot of cases where nobody's bidding, and when I bid, suddenly there's more bids. Like it feels weird. So I'm trying to test that a little bit, but so far my tests have shown that I'm hallucinating and just need to deal with it. But a lot of the domains that I've been kind of on the fence about, I've let to go buy now, nobody bids on them. So worth looking at for sure. Okay. So hopefully that's some interesting information there at the end. I feel like a lot of times if you watch to the end of Domain to Profit, those last 10 minutes are when some of the best stuff comes out, because it's the stuff that we're kind of testing and figuring out right now versus the repeated 10 commandment type stuff that we talk about, which is avoiding the middle S and paying attention to just all those things that we talk about typically as we're looking at the domain list. So I appreciate the questions, appreciate the points, and thank you everyone for joining me here on Domain to Profit. I always appreciate it, and I always have a blast. As you probably know, I do this out of fun. I do this out of wanting to spend time with you, other people that are interested in domain names and business, and coming together to, I believe, make the world better through developing domain names. Thank you for being here. Make sure you have liked and subscribed. If you have not, share this with somebody else that you might be interested in doing domain names with as well. I always appreciate that. I work for peanuts and/or likes and shares, so I appreciate it. I'm Drew Wash's Domain to Profit. I will see you next Monday, 3 p.m. Eastern Time, right back here.